Welcome back, everyone, to Morning Line. Nick Barris here on the Plus. This is Paul Kenny, master mechanic from Precision Tune, joining us this morning. Nice to have you on.
Hey, good to be here.
Always a good conversation with him. I'm learning something. I'm not the most knowledgeable guy when it comes to cars.
Yeah, but you ask the tough questions.
But I ask the tough questions. I'm like, how do I change my oil? All right, the number is 737-7587. We've got a couple lines open.
Right.
Folks, we're waiting through the break, and let's go next to Dale. Dale, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, Dale. How can we help you?
I got an 05 Buick Rendezvous with a V6 in it. It won't accelerate. You drive it normally, but if you try to accelerate on it, it acts like it shuts down, and it's been giving a problem a while. Wife drives it. Can you give me something on that?
Does it seem to get worse and worse over time?
No.
No.
As long as you drive it right, it runs good, but you can't accelerate. If you try to accelerate or mash it down or get on the road and try to stomp it, it just shuts down.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Did this start all at one time, or did you just kind of feel it and it got worse over time?
No, I hadn't noticed it. The wife, she drives it, and I was going out of town, and I mashed it one time, and it just smothered out.
Okay. Check engine light?
Nope.
Okay. When it smothers out, does it shut off and you have to restart it, or does it just make a moaning sound and you can't get any speed, any RPM, any power out of it?
You just can't get any RPMs or nothing out of it. It just shuts down. You let up off of it a little bit, and it'll take it, but it's about 50 miles an hour as fast as it'll go. Okay.
Sounds like your wife has broken the accelerator pedal. She pushed on it too hard.
Is that it?
No. No. I'll tell you what, it sounds like you may have too much back pressure in the exhaust system because that won't throw a check engine light. And the more you're trying to accelerate, the more you're pushing air and volume into the exhaust system, the harder it resists. And lots of times it will make kind of a moaning sound, but you get too much back pressure. It's kind of like, you know, when we were kids, if we want to pull a prank on somebody, we put a potato in their tailpipe and they couldn't get over 5 miles an hour. Well, this is kind of a little less extreme situation, but have the exhaust system back pressure tested. Okay, this can be done either with a vacuum gauge, with a vacuum drop test, that's something specific, or you can have one of the oxygen sensors removed temporarily to see if now the power is restored, because that allows the exhaust another port to flow through. But it sounds like catalytic converter stopped up on that thing, and that will do exactly what you're describing. I've heard it 100 times, and they just wear out. It's got a ceramic honeycomb inside of it, and that stuff breaks loose, and it will move around and eventually just kind of clog up that exhaust pipe.
So that's something he can bring into a service station.
Bring into a service station or an exhaust shop and have the exhaust system back pressure tested.
Okay. So, okay. Dale, we hope that helps.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. All right, let's go next to Barbara. We got a lot of calls for you. Hi, Barbara. Good morning.
Good morning.
What can we do for you?
I have a 2001 Impala, and it's low coolant fluid light keeps coming on. And when we check it, it holds about a quarter of a cup, never over a half. Now, is this something serious that I should have checked, or someone said it was a malfunction light? I don't know.
Well, those GM V6s have a problem with the sensor in the coolant reservoir and the little jug on the side. Okay, it's got a little float in there with a sensor, and over time you get a little bit of gunk in that passage, and that sensor sticks. And you can fill it up, and it won't turn the light out. Now, if it's constantly about a half a cup low, just very little, it shouldn't be going anywhere. You shouldn't have to add, you know. There are also, those cars are bad about the intake manifolds. They'll get a little bit of a coolant leak right at the intake manifold, and your regular service guy, mechanic, can check that out for you and see. It may not be very bad right now. It will eventually get worse. long as you keep it full, you can continue to drive it normally. But yeah, you shouldn't have to constantly add. It's got to be going somewhere.
Just meaning that she may have a small leak somewhere,
may
right?
have a small leak, right.
Okay, so bring that in. It's interesting, though. She's talking about a problem I have with my Miata sometimes we were talking about during the break. My brake lights come on, and brakes are something you don't want to mess with. But I have a slow leak. Right?
At your master cylinder.
And so what I do, I keep with me. Now, this is not a problem with the sensor. The sensor works. It gets to a certain level, and it goes on before it runs out, and I pull out. We haven't gone ahead and fixed the leak, right? Because it's way in there. So I just fill it back up and make it. So the key is it's there. The answer to her question would be, too, when she asks, how serious is this? I understand she's worried. Is her engine going to melt? I mean,
no, and you know, as long as you're keeping it full, you're good to drive it. You know, if the light was constantly coming on and you weren't having to add, then that's the sensor problem itself.
But if it is going down, maybe have them check it.
If you're having to constantly add, then it's going somewhere, because none of your fluids you should have to refill other than the gas in the car.
Yeah.
You know, everything should stay full. It's not designed. These cars were not designed to go down the road and be leaking anything.
Okay, right. Good point.
Know, so some things are more serious than others. You know, you can drive, you can do your daily activity. If you're constantly adding, your next oil change or when it's convenient, have them check for a leak. Have them look at the intake manifold. The gaskets are bad about leaking on those, and you'll never see anything on the ground because it's leaking on the exhaust. So, you know, but anyway, yeah, have it checked. You shouldn't have to add all the time.
Barbara, I hope that helps. So let's go next to Ruby. Hi, Ruby.
Hello.
Good morning, Ruby. What can we do for you?
I'm calling about a 91 Buick LeSabre.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've carried it, and it's got the crankshaft. Something wrong with the crankshaft sensor out.
Okay.
And it's still got on there check oil.
Check engine light.
Engine light.
Yes, ma'am.
And you know my car does not use no oil.
Right.
And it's got a 259,000 on it.
Wow.
All right.
Sounds like a main bearing to me.
No, you are so wrong. Good guess.
259,000.
Yes, ma'am. A crankshaft sensor is just a magnetic sensor, and it basically tells the computer how fast the engine's running, how many rotations per minute or RPMs that vehicle's running. Has nothing to do with your oil. It can eventually go out and will make the car, you know, stall and die.
Okay. It's died on me once before.
Okay, and they're pretty sensitive little sensors, and they will eventually go out. So
I carried it yesterday, and they said it cost me $700-something to put one in.
Does that sound right?
There's got to be more than just the sensor going on there then.
It says here. It says I found crankshaft. They say magnet. Something about the magnet.
Okay.
And SCRO61.
Yeah.
They said I could just drive it on.
Okay.
But the engine light stays on. That's what I'm worried about.
Right.
Yeah, I always hate that.
You know, you won't be able to pass emissions. Plus, it might eventually, die on you. Yeah. As far, I mean, the sensors, a $200 or $300 repair. There's something else going on that your mechanic has found with the magnet. The magnet's part of what's called a harmonic balancer.
I imagine you're familiar with Payne Brothers.
Okay, not specifically. Is this somebody you've dealt with for a while?
No.
Okay. Yeah. There's something more to that case, Miss Ruby, than meets the what you're telling me. Because that's a pretty prime price just for the sensor. I think there's something else going on they're having to replace that that's justifying that cost, I would hope.
Right. Well, sometimes if you're not sure, I mean, certainly there's plenty of places to go to. If it's not someone you necessarily know and they quote you something that's more expensive than you think, take it to another place and see if you get the same quote. Then maybe you think, okay, it's legit.
A second opinion. And you may have to pay somebody else a second diagnostic charge to do that. But yeah, we don't know what they found, but yeah, use your best judgment on that.
Is this something she needs to fix, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because
like
it will cause the car to shut off. If that crank sensor, if it becomes inoperable, you'd be driving down the road, and Miss Ruby, that car's going to stall out on you, just like you said it's been doing, and it may not restart anymore. So I wouldn't, if you want to continue to drive the car, I definitely would get it fixed but find out exactly what it is they're having to do.
She's at the threshold too of where you decide if you want to spend money to fix this car, where she said as old as it is with how many miles, 700, it's worth it. It's cheaper than buying a new car, I suppose.
Right, absolutely.
But
absolutely.
at some point, you ask yourself, all right, is it worth it if you get a bill someday in the couple $1,000 range?
Right.
And the car's that old,
maybe
it's time for a new car.
That's tough. Whether to throw out the baby with the bathwater or put $700 in it and drive it another 5 years.
Yeah, which
it's been a good car. You know the car, so yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a call from John. John, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, John. How can we help you?
I want to know, does all mechanics lie or just the ones I've been dealing with?
That's kind of what we're getting
to. John, I have to deal with that. I have people that have never been in for service with me and come in and will just ask me right out, are you going to rip me off like everybody else? And that is so hard to deal with. And I'm glad you asked that question, because you have commission shops where guys get paid for what they do. Hey, when times are tough and you may only see one car, the industry is set up, and I hate to say this, but the industry's kind of set up that the more you do. So if there's some gray area, a guy's going to lean towards, well, I need to pay my rent this month. And that's a shame that it has to be that way. There's guys that can't do enough that get out of the business because they can't make a living. A good mechanic will have people beating their doors down and will have so much work that you got to wait in line to get to them. But yeah, I mean that's tough. Now, there's also a lot of incompetence, I guess, to be kind about it, that you just don't know 100%, and even if you get to the manufacturer's flow chart on the repairs, it doesn't say, this part's broken. It says replace with known good part. Well, who's going to replace that part, and who's going to confirm the fix, without charging you? So yeah, sometimes it's malicious, sometimes it's by accident, but yeah, it's tough. And I don't care if it's getting your car worked on, or your dishwasher, or your heating and air conditioning unit. There's always a question about, do I need all of this?
Right. And I've been there where I've seen that, where
tough.
people are questioning. And I wonder, it's interesting to me sometimes to think about someone who really knows cars but doesn't want to do it themselves, brings it in, and so they know going in, because the ones who are unscrupulous assume that you're clueless, and so they figure they can brush it off on you. And maybe John's one of these guys who's a little more knowledgeable. When they came out and hit him with something, he knew they were full of beans and passed on it. When you're talking about finding a good mechanic, then references, if you have someone you trust that knows them, if it's someone I suppose you could check with the Better Business Bureau to see if a business has had a bunch of complaints. Stay away from it. But it's kind of like choosing a good doctor or anything else. If you can get a personal referral from someone you trust who vouches for them, maybe that helps.
Or Google it.
Yeah, Google it. Check. Do a little research beforehand.
I'll tell you, the internet nowadays will tell you whether somebody's pizza tastes good or tastes like cardboard, or if this guy's good, so yeah.
And then when you find one that you trust, that you like, develop the relationship with them the way you do with a doctor, and then they know you and they're going to take care of you. So, but it's tricky, like anything else.
Yeah.
We'll take a break. When we come back, more of your phone calls right after this.